Hi guys, welcome to Cat's Crochet World. Today I'm going to teach you how to do a slip knot and a chain. These are some of the basics you need for any crochet project, and this is where I always start when I'm teaching someone new. For your materials for today, you will need some kind of yarn and a hook. I am using Red Heart Super Saver. It is a medium weight yarn or 4-ply. It has recommendations for your yarn sizes, how to wash it and how to dry it, and if you should iron it. For today, we're going to be using, for a hook, I am using a 5 hook or a 5mm, an H hook or a 5mm hook. Just because for me, it's one of my favorite hooks to use. I find that I go to it when I don't really need a specific size for something, such as blankets and stuff, depending on the yarn, depends on the size of your hook or how tight you want the stitches. But I found that this is my basic one that I use a lot. All right, let's get started. To do a slip knot, you need to make a loop, and then you need to pull this working yarn. The yarn that is attached to your yarn ball is called your working yarn. It is going to go through the back side of your loop. That's very important, the back side of your loop. Then you're going to grab both your tail end and your yarn, working yarn, and pull them down. And see how that made a nice little loop? Now if you take both ends and you pull on it, it'll come out. That's how you know you've made a slip knot. You know, I was just teaching at the time my 8-year-old how to do this. She's been crocheting for about 3 or 4 months now. And she just had a birthday, so she's now 9. But I started her when she was 8. And that's the very first thing I taught her to do. Just go and make a whole bunch of slip knots. Your life is a lot of repeating right now. If you're going to learn how to crochet, it's a lot of practice. And then, you know, she was really frustrated, and then she got it. And then now she makes projects all the time. So that's your basic crochet. That's your wow, your slip knot. There we go. I lost that for a second. All right, so now we're going to chain. And how you chain is you make a slip knot and you put your hook inside. Tighten it down, but see how I have a tiny little gap in there? I don't know if you guys can see that very well. That's what you want. You don't want it so tight that you can't move your hook. You want it to slide very easily on your hook. Something I haven't talked about, I should probably talk about, how to hold your hook. There's a couple different ways to hold your hook. I hold it like this. It's comfortable for me. I feel like I have more control. But my mom, who helped teach me how to crochet, my mom and my grandma did, they both crocheted like this, like a pencil. Either way is fine. I can crochet with both. This takes longer for me. I have to think about it more than this. Either way, you need to hold your yarn, your working yarn. How I do that is I actually let the yarn hold itself by simply wrapping it around my pinky finger and then my pointer finger. And that way, I'm not actually holding the yarn. The yarn is just holding onto me, which makes it so that I don't have to worry about it. Then I take my other hand, or the other fingers of that same hand, and hold on to the tail of my work so that I can hold it, and it's not going to slide until I tell it to slide. Then on my hook hand, I take my pointer finger and I hold that loop. That way, when I'm doing my yarn overs, which is when you wrap your yarn around your hook, it's not sliding. It's staying right where I want it. Otherwise, it'll go all the way around your hook and you won't have control over it. So now that I've made that, okay, now made the slip knot. I don't have to worry about that. Tighten it up just a little bit. So now for this next part, and it's important to know where to put your hook. When you start a chain or any crochet stitch, your hook, the head of your hook, see how it has that little hook in there? You're going to have that facing you. Then you're going to yarn over or wrap your yarn on the back side of your hook, and see how I use my other hand to do that? I don't even have to hold the yarn. Hold the yarn, hold this with these fingers, hold this with this hand, and now I'm going to turn my hook. See how it grabs that yarn? And I'm going to pull it through. And that's your first chain. Make sure your this loop is loose. Don't tighten it down too much. It's a very common thing to want to pull it tight, but you want it loose because you're going to be working in those stitches. So then again, yarn over, turn your hook so it grabs that yarn, pull it through. Yarn over, pull on that hook, or turn your hook, pull on the yarn all the way through. Now we have 3 chains, and how you can tell are these little V stitches. Can you see that? So we have 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, turn my hook, pull it through, loosen my yarn. And how I do it is I move these fingers up as I work. See? Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, over, pull through. And you're just going to keep doing that until you get super comfortable with it. Don't worry, it takes a while. I cannot tell you how many necklaces I made with chains, how many bracelets. My mom bought me perler beads at one point to put on them so that I could make a chain and then bead over the top of it. Cat toys. Lots of a belt once. Just out of the chain. Nothing fancy, just the chain. I know that seems kind of silly, but literally practice your chain a lot. Get it to the point where you're comfortable with what it looks like. A lot of crocheting is muscle memory. The more you do it, the more your hands just know what to do. So don't feel weird that you're sitting with a ball of chain, watching a TV show, or a ball of yarn, watching a TV show and making it all into a chain. And then the best part about it, if you don't want to keep it, that's fine. All you have to do is grab your work, so the chain that you just made, and the working yarn, which is the one that's attached to your ball, and pull it out. And see how easy those stitches come out? Some yarn, and the reason why I have you guys start with the 4-ply is some yarn does not pull out that easy. It'll actually snag on each other, on its own fibers. And so this one, for a beginner, is something that you're going to pull out your stuff. I have been crocheting for 30 years, and I still pull out my stuff. It's just part of crocheting. So that's it for today. So enjoy your newfound hobby. I hope that you enjoyed as much as I do. Don't forget you have to start with a slip knot. So you can hook it to your hook. Pull it a little tight, but not too tight. Snug, but not tight. Take your working yarn and yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through. And just practice, practice, practice. And next week, after you've had enough time to practice your chain, and your slip knot. We are going to make a single crochet dishcloth. So it's, again, nothing too fancy, but it's a great way to learn how to do the single crochet, which is the next stitch that I'm going to teach you. So go forth and chain.